What's up, friends? Hey, you, as I used to say. Hope all is good with you. And yeah, I was just talking to some guys actually that made me, remind myself that there is all this insanity happening in the world, or tightening and constriction and so on. But in nature, there is abundance and opportunity. It's not easy. For many of us, it's not just a case of, oh, well, I'll sell this house and buy the land and the cabin on the land with water and solar and all that sort of stuff. That doesn't come easy to everyone at this point in time. I was talking to Alex Michael yesterday about the same thing, and I feel like preparing yourself for eventualities, for change in circumstance, for the possibility that land becomes available in the fullness of time, because the world has moved into a different paradigm. I feel like that's there, and I know some people are going out to Portugal, places like that, where there are little villages even to be bought. You can buy a whole village and start again. But with people with a mindset that you're building a community of different souls, different people with different ideals, perhaps. In some ways, there needs to be some synergy. You can't take the needlecraft crew and put them in the village. I don't think that would make sense. But that people are growing and contributing to a community, and I know that requires different sorts of thinking, because we have been so segmented and so separated and so spoiled by the choices that and the accessibility of food in the supermarket. And while that system remains, then why not use it? But we know that from 2020, it's very easy to start locking people out of stuff, and access to things, aside from the modification of the organisms and all that business. But if you're like me, not in a position to take that next step right now, don't lose heart, don't lose your own way, towards the inner labyrinth, towards the knowing thyself, because you can know yourself in whatever geographic location you are. It's just, I acknowledge, harder when it's not your land and you're not tilling and planting and preparing and shoring up and constructing. So it's not straightforward, and I don't have all answers, but I do think that I had this really great session last night. Andrew and I did our first Labyrinth kind of Zoom hangout, which is a private hangout for anyone who wants to come along, and but it's not like on YouTube. One of the guys was concerned that it was going to be published. It's a very private, intimate space for people who have walked this far and feel like, what does the future hold? What's the point? What's the purpose? And even if we can't answer the career thing, one guy who was on the call, I won't say his name, and hopefully he doesn't mind me sharing this, but he is an airline pilot and was removed from his job in 2021 for refusing needlecraft. And a young man in the prime of his skill set, sort of cut off from his community, his source of income, his passion, and it would be very easy to become defeated by such unfortunate circumstances. Um, so that was a good reminder for me, and for him, I think, also to to do that inner work from the paradigm that you're in now, because when the starting gun is fired, you want to be as fit and as ready and mentally uh, and physically as possible. Alex Michael was saying, he's learned so much from he's got an awesome grow. All sorts of, him and Shelley have got all sorts of things growing in their garden, but their garden isn't really ideal for a large enough grow for him to be self-sufficient. And he's realized that through these last few years of experience. So he can, I think, take that experience and use it to, take the next step if he chooses to. It is always, I guess, a matter of choice. But we will feel like we have choices when we're not staring at the onrushing train. Then when we are mentally and physically well, we will engineer, we will generate the the possibilities that are to be, hopefully a more rewarding experience here on earth. That being said, it really shouldn't matter where you are. The inner journey to know thyself is one that we can all afford to take. But it doesn't have to, the conditions of the prison do not have to be right. Like Andy Dufresne, he, even though he had to spend time in solitary confinement in Shawshank, he kept his mind and kept to his purpose. And in his case, he managed to make it out and get that boat and become master of his own ship. So to that end, the call went so well last night, and it felt so beneficial for all of us, that we plan to do it again in about 2 weeks' time. We'll let you know the details of that closer to the time. But I would recommend that you try and give it a whirl. You don't have to open up. One of the guys was hesitant about wanting to open up too much, and that's absolutely fine, because I likened it to a bit like say the 12-step program with the Alcoholics Anonymous. When you go there, you're going to be like, I'm not going to tell these guys anything. And then as you hear other people's testimony, you realize that you're amongst people who are not going to be in judgment of your drinking, and you're able to kind of open up in ways that you never imagined possible. And I think this is the same with this container that we set up, the Labyrinth, with a view to helping people to go within, to do that inner still work that I believe we all need to do. Once we've come out of the apathy, which is where those needlecraft crew are at, what can we do about it? We just go along with it. Once you come out of apathy, you're going to move into other emotions of anger and grief at the loss of the world and friends and the life that you maybe thought you had. There's going to be grief and anger at the system and the people around you. And that's all legitimate. It's all part of the process. And as we kind of spiral through those sorts of things, we can get into the pride of, oh, well, I'm a truther and I know all the stuff that I know. And beyond that, then there is this you come to a state of peace or acceptance with the status quo, and in that place you can become a manifesting generator. You can really start to bring your greatest good to bear in your life. And from good ground, you're going to get great harvest. Although some trees take a long time to fruit. So we need also to be patient and not be, as I've been saying for years, this could drag on for a long time before it's like, it's so unbearable that you can't be in it. But of course, no man knows the time, and so on. So really, all we can do in the meantime is work to a betterment of the self, and through that, hopefully, a community emerges around you, and there's the opportunity for sharing and bartering and trading and cooperating in various ways. So there you go. That's that. I hope that you have a nice day or night or whatever you're up to. Don't keep your head up. Keep your head up, because when the ship's sinking, you do need to be floating above all the detritus. Otherwise, you risk getting dragged down. Peace.